On this episode of Patrol Tactical, we review Magpul's BEV Block. Hey guys, this is Dave with Patrol Tactical. This year, Magpul released a couple of new products that were kind of outside the norm for them. They have their armorer's wrench, which we did a separate video review on, and we also have their BEV Block. And this is kind of the first venture for Magpul into serious quality tools. And so far, I really welcome their products. They're good stuff so far with the wrench. Now, Magpul's traditionally known for stocks and things like that, but they definitely are using that technology and experience with polymers to make this tool seems to be pretty effective. This is the BEV Block, and it's not short for Beverly or anything like that. BEV actually stands for Barrel Extension Vise. And what's nice about it is it can replace a lot of tools. So before we get into the tool, first things first, disclosure, I actually bought this tool myself. Magpul did not send it to us. We are not expecting anything for compensation, review, whatever. So I did purchase it when it was made available. And bottom line up front, it is a very nice tool, especially if you're new into the AR platform and you're just starting out with tools. What I like about it is it can hold a lower as well as an upper. So basically we all have probably a variety of tools if you've been doing this. You know, you have your standard old school kind of upper holder. The Geisley reaction rod's really popular. The Brownells clamshell has been very popular for uppers. And then you have, you know, just the flapper type lowered tool and a fixture. I can't remember what the official name is, but we have all these other tools that have kind of been out for a while. And what's nice is that this tool can pretty much replace them all. So bottom line up front, I do really like it. There is one minor thing I don't like about it, which we'll get to at the end, but overall I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're new looking to get one tool to hold uppers and lowers. So the tool itself is mostly made of polymer. So the body here is made of polymer, but it does have an insert, which is this piece right here, and it actually goes into the body. Now this is the part that actually engages the barrel extension when you're holding an upper. So let's quick take this apart and I'll show you all the pieces. So here it is taken apart. We have the nylon polymer body, and then the insert is just secured with a roll pin. So if you have a roll pin bunch, you could take it apart if you wanted to. I don't really see a need to take it apart, but I wanted to show you what it's actually made of. Now, what I'm hoping is that this is maybe a sign of future expansion. So for example, maybe they will come out with one for other calibers like the 6.5, the 6.8, or whatever it might be. Because this obviously will work with 300 blackout or 5.56, 223, but it would be cool if maybe they release this in other platforms, you know, or for other calibers in the future. So that's kind of maybe a sign showing that modularity, but really simple. This appears to be cast or metal injected molding. There's some mold marks there. So, but nonetheless, it's all steel, made in the USA, appears to be very solid. Again, you don't get that cheap, flimsy feeling when you're handling this, and it has a nice phosphate matte finish. So really simple. The other thing to note on the body is there's an O-ring right here, and this part will actually interface with a carrier for added rigidity when you're using the upper, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So let me quick put this back together and I'll show it to you in action. Now that we have the BEV Block back together, we'll start with the lower function. So what's cool is that if you flip it around, and you can see there's kind of this shelf or ledge right here, and we'll just put that into the vise. Tighten it snug. Now you can use this to work on your lower. You can do stock work, you can do trigger work, you know, whatever it might be. And it also works upside down, so if you wanted to install a grip or anything like that, or work on something where you prefer to work on the lower upside down, it does work both ways. So it holds your lower just fine in your vise, so that's one really cool use of the tool. The other way that this tool works is for your upper receivers. So we'll just throw this back in the vise after we flipped it over. And this section right here will engage with the barrel extension in the upper receiver. So how this works is we'll simply, through the large opening there, go over the tool, and then we'll slide it all the way back. So as you're looking through this hole right here, you can see that the lug from the upper receiver is in alignment with the tool. Now the BEV Block does come with these plastic pins. It comes with 3 of them. So as they wear out or whatever, you just insert the pin in here, and I'll do it on that side so you can see a camera, then you just insert it. And that just adds a little bit more rigidity to that. Now you could, work on your barrel nut, you could do torquing, whatever it might be. And it actually holds it pretty well, but you'll notice there's a little bit of wobble. If you want to just make that a little bit more solid, you could take a bolt carrier, take the charging handle out obviously. You'll insert the carrier, and that will lock onto that portion with that O-ring that I was telling you about earlier, and it'll just snug things up. So now you can do more torquing, you can work on your muzzle devices. If you had to work on gas blocks, you certainly have those options. There is still a little bit of play, but I don't have any movement laterally or horizontally here, so I'm not really worried about anything becoming out of engagement. But it appears to be working just fine. Now, if you were really needed to loosen a really, really tight barrel nut, I still prefer the clamshell type. A lot of people will still use this type where it engages the barrel extension, but there unfortunately have been some horror stories out there. But do some research. If you have an overly tight one, make sure you're doing some homework on how to properly loosen that. But this could work very well for that though too. All in all, it holds it pretty nice and pretty secure. So final thoughts about the tool. Like I said, all in all, if you're looking to get your first fixture tool, so you don't have anything else and you need a vise fixture for ARs, what's great about this is that it does uppers and lowers. So you're good to go there with just the one tool and not have to buy multiple tools. It is very well made. The polymer holds up just well. I've been using this for a few months now in doing various builds and work, and I don't have any issues. You can even see some of the teeth marks from the vise. It's really no issues for wear or anything like that. As far as complaints, I guess, not really any complaints per se, but one of the things that I did notice about it when working on your lower is that there is a little wobble. If that bothers you, it doesn't really matter too much, because as you're torquing, if you had to torque for a receiver extension, or anything like that, you're not going to be really affected by that. It's still going to be able to work on that just fine. But there is a little bit of wobble. If that bugs you, just to let you know it is there. But other than that, not a ton of complaints. Really, it's a pretty simple and effective tool. And how they included the use for the carrier to make it more stable for more stability there. It's actually a pretty good design. They were definitely thinking like really everything Magpul does. They're a really, really smart company, and they make some really nice products. And this is a welcome addition to their family of already great products. We already did review the wrench. If you haven't checked out that video, make sure you do, because in my opinion, the two complement each other very well. So make sure you check out that. We'll put a link in the description below. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to leave a comment.
Yeah, like how much does that cost?
Thank you, Trevor. MSRP as of right now, first quarter 2015, is $50. Street price maybe a little less. Now, when you compare the price of $50 by the time you were to buy a upper fixture and a lower fixture, you'd easily be at that price. So I think it's pretty attractive, and I think street price is actually a couple dollars less than that. But all in all, not a bad little tool, and especially if they offer some expansion in the future, I think it'll even be a better value, especially for guys that are armoring on multiple different guns, gunsmiths, whatever, that may be having different calibers come through. I hope you like this review. If you do, please like, share, and subscribe. Check out our other videos on the channel, as well as all the other great channels on Full 30. Remember, whenever you're working on firearms, make sure you do so safely. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.